What is going on, the people of YouTube? Your pal Neo Cards and Comics here for Saturday night live stream. It is the channel birthday. 4 years ago today, I decided to upload a video on YouTube. Boy, oh boy. Not think we'd end up here 4 years later still doing it. Especially, I wish I would have, I would have been a lot smarter. I would have documented that first video, because what a train wreck that thing was. Getting that thing up. What an absolute disaster. The lighting in those early videos was so bad, so bad. And the audio was meh. I was using a gaming headset to record audio on. No, we're not ripping. That would have been a good idea, John. Just keep like one random mosaic blaster around for every year to rip one. Maybe we'll do that next year. Next year will be the big 5-year. So maybe we'll do that for next year's. I remember recording that video. The issue was I didn't have I didn't record it on my phone. I used the Canon DSLR because I was like, oh, I got this nice camera. I'll use this camera. But I didn't have a good way to like mount it and shoot down at my desktop. So I had it on a desktop tripod on my keyboard tray, because my keyboard tray is lower than my desk. It pulls out. I had my keyboard tray pulled out and the desktop tripod sitting on top of it with the camera sitting on top of that, trying to wrap my arms around it to show off the cards. I think I knocked the camera over 2 or 3 times in that video. I edited it out, obviously, but there was at least 2 or 3 camera knockovers. I started and stopped that video about 20 different times, probably. From like, I would hit record and just sit there and not have any idea what to say. And then just stop recording and be like, well, I don't know what we're going to do here. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. I think it took me 3 days to record that thing from trial and error. But if you're on the fence, if you've ever been like, this YouTube thing, I want to talk into a microphone, I would encourage you to do it. What's up, Global? What's up, John? What's up, Mark? What's up, Soma? What's up, Ted Williams? What's up, Papa? What's up, Cam B? Thank you all for the anniversary / birthday, whatever you want to call it, wishes. So, no particular agenda tonight. We'll just hang out, chat for a little bit. If chat's not popping, then we'll just call it a night early and go watch some basketball. I see that Luca and SGA are battling out. It looked like it was almost tied a minute ago when I looked down. I got it streaming in front of me on the iPad. Yeah, no plans on stopping anytime soon. You know, I always toy with the idea of not doing daily anymore, because sometimes the daily thing is a grind, and I haven't done daily the entire 4 years, but I've done daily pretty damn close to the entire 4 years. No, I never thought about creating a podcast. I don't know that I want to necessarily split the viewer / listenership. And to be honest, I feel like most of the videos you could almost listen to in podcast form. Because even when I'm talking about charts and graphs and stuff, I usually try to talk about what's going on. It's not like you necessarily have to have eyes on the screen for what I'm presenting, unless it's a box break or PSA return or something. So, the idea of podcasts are cool, but solo long form, I think, is tricky. Like, I don't know that I could sit down for an hour or a half an hour with, I mean, I guess I could do a half an hour because the weekly sports card market update is almost a half an hour, but like, I don't know that I could just sit and do like an hour by myself without a guest or someone to bounce off of. Like, here is fine because I have chat. Like, I have you guys to bounce back and forth with. So, thank you, Crazy Kev. Thank you, Chris. Neo gonna Neo. But yeah, it's been a crazy 4 years. I never thought that I remember I've told the story before. Um, when I uploaded my first video, I never thought I was going. I said if I ever get to 100 subscribers, this will be the best thing ever. Like that was my big dream was to get to 100 subscribers. Yeah, I get that all the time. I definitely don't have a face for TV, but I have the voice for radio. I don't. I doubt that he is in here, but every once in a while he pops in. Northern Lights Productions will tell you the same. He runs a radio company, and he always the viewer. He lives out in San Francisco. He owns radio stations, and he always jokes that he threatens his DJs. He's like, I got a guy that's got a voice made for radio that I'm going to bring in to replace you all. And I get what's up, Lapper? I get a lot of. I'll be at a table at a show, and I'll be talking to a dealer or whatever, and the person standing next to me will be like, "I recognize your voice from somewhere." I get that at least like if I go to like a big show like a Chantilly or the National or something like that, I'll get that at least once over the course of the weekend. What channel is the game on? It's on ESPN. Or I'm sorry, it's on ABC. ESPN on ABC. We all got our own shtick, Cam. We all got our own shtick. And that's probably the number one piece of advice I would tell. Like if you're getting into the content game, you got to come up with your own voice. You could riff off people and kind of get ideas from people for kind of how you want to present, but uh, ultimately you got to find your own little niche. For whatever reason, my niche is if something happens, getting a quick take out the door. I don't know what kind of talent that is, but that seems to be what I am pretty okay at. Is shenanigans will happen. I can react to them and get a video out quickly with concise thoughts on, my take on what does it mean or whatever the nonsense is. Number one card on the want list for the National. Talk to me after Heroes Con. I got to knock out Heroes Con first. I might spend more than I want at Heroes Con. If I spend less than I want at Heroes Con, I might go after a LeBron Topps Chrome Rookie Refractor 2003. What football are you looking to take the National? So far, all I really got is the CJ Stroud Silver. I don't know if that'll make it to the National or not. I don't have plans on moving it between now and then, but something happens. If the Stroud Silver, if something happens between now and the National, I won't hesitate to move it. I'm not going to be like, oh no, that's a National only card. But that's the primary piece of trade bait that I'll be taking with me. Is that I did get, so I treated myself because it's stupid expensive to order this crap as a one-off. And no, I'm not selling these or anything. I got the little custom 3/4 zip made this week. Actually, I ordered it at, like a week ago, but it came in this week. I ordered at the beginning of the month. It took a couple weeks to come in. But little custom logoed Adidas 3/4 zip. I love my 3/4 zips. I'd wear them all summer long if it wasn't so friggin' hot. I have no orders at PSA. I have cards on my desk to go to PSA. I'm just trying to get to 10 cards. I ripped all that Bowman, and I don't know that I have a single card to send in. No, I never bought a thing off Whatnot. The only thing that I did on there was like hang out in rooms and watch shenanigans go down. Saturday, Pedro Pascal, Green Mando at the Dallas Card Show, 5.5K. That sounds about right. That's probably a little high. I'd probably go for like 4.5 or 4. I'm sorry, 4.5 ish. Actually, based off last comp, that's probably actually pretty close. I think the last one went for 5K. And I don't know that there's even any currently listed on eBay right now. Those cards are really hard to track down. I've heard it's been pretty busy. I don't know. I would probably just sit at the desktop and do it. I have to sit at the desktop to print the form anyway, so I might as well just enter them in on the desktop at the same time. I usually do it all at once. Nice. Ooh, I don't know why I'm whited out there so much. Holy smokes. There we go. Sometimes this camera likes to get a little weird with the lighting. There it goes again. Not even doing anything. Maybe I need to hold on 1 second. Please hold. Please hold. Turn that light down a little bit. Right. Made it a little darker. We'll see if that helps. I heard that too. I talked to a couple dealers today that said they got wiped out by repackers on Thursday and Friday. Was the word on the street from the old Dallas show. Going to Canton tomorrow? Yes, I am. I will be at Canton tomorrow. That is the plan. Collector Stream, what's going on, buddy? I am not currently chasing any NFL quarterbacks. Who will be hot? Probably all the young guys. I mean, Stroud, obviously, he's been hot all off season. You don't need to, need a genius to tell you that. I have to imagine the kids will swing around like Bryce Young, AR-15. I'm sure Trevor Lawrence will probably get a little bit of buzz. Like all that young crop, the same guys that you always hear about. I'll be curious to see if like the junk bond quarterbacks get pumped. Like last year, everyone was all over Desmond Ritter and Sam Howell as the next great things in videos. I don't know if maybe people learn their lesson on that or not. I doubt it, but who knows? It might be a gimmick, but it is a very popular gimmick. Dallas is getting their ass kicked a little bit here. 24-6 run the end of the half by OKC. Sheesh. We might be getting 3 game 7s out of this. I did not get any of the draft day autos. I did not. You go over the issue you see with repackers. They buy, they sell them, and then buyers sell to us. Then repackers buy them again. Circle of life. Am I missing what's changed? What's changed is that the repackers in the past, you were 100% correct, Lapper. Like, and I would agree with you. But recently, it's causing this, and it's it's not really causing me. I'm not a dealer, but repackers can basically outspend a dealer because they have more liquidity and more cash on the back end. So squeezing dealers pretty hard is basically the gist of it. It's the ecosystem, as I like to say, has been thrown off kilter because they're spending so strong that. So basically, the feedback that I get from dealers is this. In the past, a dealer would buy at, I don't know, let's call it 75%. And then they would sell to me and you walking around the show at 90% in a perfect world. And then there'd be that little like 15% in between that the dealer could make their money to shuffle cards around for people, basically. Well, now repackers on a lot of stuff are paying 90%, 95%, 100%. I saw or I heard of them buying case hits at 110%, 105%. So everything's getting sold. All the inventory is flowing to the repacker at full comp or if not over, which sounds great. And it can be. I've sold the repackers before. The people getting left holding the bag are the dealers at card shows. And this isn't like sympathy for the dealer hour, but dealers can't buy anymore because the problem is no one wants to sell to the dealer when they can sell to the repacker at 90 or 95%. So now the dealer, if they want inventory, has to buy at 90 or 95%. So that means when they go to sell, they have to sell at 100%. So when you walk around the show and the dealer has a $500 card that sells all day long for 500 on eBay, and you're like, "Hey, I would like to own that card. Can I get it for 450?" And the dealer goes, "Nah, I got to be at 5 or maybe even a little over 5 to make any sort of profit here." So the dealers are feeling the squeeze. And you might say, "Well, what do I care? I'm not a dealer," but I enjoy going to shows. And as dealers get squeezed more and more, I I think eventually this is going to hurt shows. I mean, in some regards, it's already hurting shows a little bit because inventory is getting cleaned out before the show even starts. So like it's impacting. I've heard this from multiple people. This isn't just my own personal experience. You walk into a show and there's empty holes all over the tables already because the repackers have gone through and cleaned everybody out. So then, what's my motivation to go to the show? I'm going to go to the show and I could just buy the card for the same price on eBay and I have better inventory selection. Um, because one, the dealer doesn't have to sell at full comp or over to even break even. And two, the inventory hasn't been wiped out and I have zero travel expenses. So my concern slash thought is when you kind of spin all this forward is that it could have it's hurting shows overall in the long run because it's gotten off kilter. Before it was kind of like you laid out there. There was balance of in the force. The force was balanced. There was repackers buying, they injected some liquidity, but it wasn't like the end all be all. Now it's the end all be all. And the other side of it that scares me is what happens if the music stops? If the merry-go-round stops going around because I don't know, repacks are regulated, the buzz on repacks wears out. One of the selling platforms cracks down on it. It's a long shot that any of these things will happen. Demand just lessens. And now all of a sudden, the repack ecosystem is propping everything up. What happens when that gets rug pulled out? I'm concerned about that as well from like a more mid to long term perspective. Like how much does a downtown and a kaboom and a color blast and all these other like football case hits and all this stuff, is the numbers that we're seeing actually real? Like, is there actually demand for that card? Because that's ultimately the problem. The dealer can't sell the card at 100% comps because no one wants to buy it at 100% comps because nobody actually wants to own the card. Nobody wants to own the card. They want to buy it to make 10 or 15% on it. That's really the ultimate problem. They don't want to buy the $500 card for $500 because they're going to take it home and put it on their desk and look at it for life. They want to buy it for $425 and then go sell it to someone else for $575, make their $50 and rinse and repeat. And I've drastically fallen behind on chat. Any more Cleveland cards that I picked up as I'll let chat kind of marinate on my little soapbox there. I got another Indians prospect, a little Rafi Velasquez. Picked up a blue wave first Bowman PSA 1010 auto. Came in the mail the other day from eBay Authenticity Guaranteed. Was that wine? I am drinking wine. I do have a glass. I have a cup of wine. I don't use a wine glass. I just fill up a cup. Yeah, I could give you some places for sure, Pyres. Shoot me an email or a DM on Instagram and just basically remind me of that. Be like, hey, I'm the guy that said he's going to Ohio, Amish country. I could give you a few places to check out for sure for like food and stuff. I mean, to me, that top snout game U stuff is really cool. If I'm a huge fan of the Pirates, That's a steal. I mean, I've talked about this before. I did a whole video on Tops Now. If you actually, and once again, I'm going to blow your mind with this concept, collect cards of a player and don't care about making money on the back end, Paul Skeens is the best thing to happen to the Pirates in years. He has the potential. Hopefully, he stays healthy. I talk about him a little bit tomorrow. He's like the most hyped thing the Pirates have had in forever. And maybe he goes on to become the next great Pittsburgh Pirate. I don't know. To me, if I'm a Pirates fan, I think it would be really cool to have a card with a piece of the ball from the first game he ever played, or a piece of the ball from his first win. To me, that is the ultimate collector card. I would much rather have that card than some random Topps Chrome parallel, like orange wave disco swirly balls with some pixie dust out of 45. Give me the game used ball all day long. Um, Mostly dynasty stuff and Manny Ramirez, and I like some Jose Ramirez stuff. I'm a little picky on Jose Ramirez stuff. What's up, Emperor? And I generally will take a look at anything cool 90s Indians refractory. 100% very real right now. Mando Sports enjoys the repackers. Yeah, it's the same stuff. There's cool places to go eat and, little restaurants to check out and stuff. It's not even about buying 60 at 70. Like, I know dealers that can't even buy at 85. You say poor dealers, but do you want to, if the dealers can't buy to have inventory, if everyone's just selling to the repacker, then you don't have a show anymore. So we could sit here and say, oh, boo hoo hoo, the poor dealers, everyone cry for them. But I enjoy attending card shows. And if dealers can't source inventory reliably and all of a sudden they get squeezed out, then what are we going to, every weekend for a couple hours to get out of the house? We have indeed, Global. We have indeed. The good old Star Stock days. Happy birthday, Steven. Set up a Tampa hot card. Strouds, Judge, Chua, Cold, Wemby, all my Bucks cards. Taylor Swift is that's not surprising. Yeah, I do a lot of trading at shows too. Yeah, I got a bunch of I'm about 40 minutes from Amish country. So the wife and I go down there sometimes for like lunch on the weekends and stuff, a couple times a year. I don't know. The grading's completely negatively affected everything. Get ready for GameStop repacks, 100% cards and comics. What's up, Jason? He's probably selling them the repacker for 95. Yeah, definitely don't eat the day before. Amish donuts are indeed the bomb. Yeah, most people are buying graded though, Global. So like you don't really need to inspect a graded card. Wish I had a donut. I don't know that the GameStop thing has a major impact, at least on sports. I think it has more of an impact on Pokemon and TCG than it does on sports cards, personally. Um, it adds a little bit of liquidity to the market, but I don't think it's going to be like a major game changer. Because once again, you're not forced to sell to them. So, I mean, I said it in the video. If I had like random slabs laying around, that I just didn't feel like going through the hassle to sell like 10, 15, $20 stuff. And they would give me 5 or 10 bucks on it and maybe 15 in trade in towards like a PS5 or whatever. Sure. Done. Bye. See ya. I like going to shows more for the social aspect of it than anything else. Like I just enjoy going to a card show, as sick as that sounds. Like it's just fun going to a card show, being in with the people. Yeah, everyone's gonna be hungry for donuts after this stream. Buy any CJ Calfish yet? I have a saved search for CJ. I have a saved search for him. I've been mostly grabbing Velasquez and Churio. These are still sitting on my desk because I might take them to Canton with me tomorrow. I got some Churios and the Velasquez refractor in the blue. I tried to buy some Cafus. He retired, man. He hung it up, Bush Leaguers. He's still active in his. He runs a Discord that a bunch of us are in. Jared Jones is on my fantasy team. He is very good. Yeah, the Skeens card is game used from his debut. Yeah, I have Jared Jones on my keeper league team. Thank you, Buster. It's the key with Skeens is can he stay healthy? Hey man, there ain't nothing wrong with selling to him. I'm just telling you the other side of the story. Yeah, Dakota had the baby and he disappeared. He keeps teasing a return at one point in time. I wouldn't be surprised if he picks back up the microphone at some point in time again in his life. Skeens is really good. Skeens is really, really good. Cards just become base card paloozas. Flipper the TV show. I used to watch that as a kid all the time. On Nickelodeon, it would be you'd get Mr. Ed, Flipper, and Lassie, like all back to back to back. You got to be on fire. You have to be quick on the trigger on that Tops Now stuff. Plus, don't forget, there are, I forget I don't know the specifics of how this works, but there's essentially a Tops Now like God tier program where a certain number of people get access to it every year, but you have to spend like tens of thousands of dollars. Like basically, they take like the top 0.5% of spenders on Tops Now cards, and you get like VIP access to drops, is the way that I understand it. So they get first crack at it. So I think sometimes a lot of that inventory gets gobbled up before the email even goes out. It's the way I understand it anyway. I've seen some like documentation floating around on the back end. No, I never did finish the Cleveland Indians autograph project. It's kind of a never ending project. I got close. I probably actually don't need that many more. It got a little tricky because the some of the guys didn't have autos. Like Paul Sereno, I couldn't find a good Indians auto of his. GameStop's offers depend on where are they trying to sell. Right now, it looks like they're selling online. They have a website up that you can go look at their slab inventory already. What's my most valuable comic? Is it sitting behind me? No, it's not. Hulk 181. I have a Hulk 181 in a CGC 6.5. I don't know what it goes for these days. Probably a few grand. Oh, look. I haven't checked this for a while. I know I'm upside down on it because I bought it. I didn't even buy it at the peak, but it's still come down quite a bit. It goes for about 3K, a little over 3 grand. Mine will probably get a slight premium because it presents really well. I'll head this question out with the pass. The most expensive card that I own is my Pedro Pascal auto. Those go for about $5,000 these days. I am very meh on Deshaun Watson. Do not like. Yeah, I just think, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, I've done video. You can go back and look. Like a year ago, I was doing videos about how repackers are good for the hobby. I just think it's skewed a little too far. That's all. I think the scale is tipped a little bit. Before, we were kind of balanced out. There was like enough to kind of go around for everybody. And now repacks have taken off. They're a money making machine. So now everyone's doing a repack, and it's caused this like imbalance now in it all. And I worry that imbalance could cause things to tip over. I did see that. I mean, that just happened kind of about a half an hour before I went live. Um, I guess if you really want Marvin Harrison autos, maybe go grab some Bowman U ones, because it might be a hot minute before you get anything else. Because he hasn't signed his NFLPA contract yet, which means he can't be in Panini products. I have not. I could probably find out. I could probably nose around to some people and figure it out if I really wanted to. Um, but I have not yet. Second appearance. It's the one that matters. What other YouTube channels do you like watching? Like, I mean, card wise, I feel like everybody, like hobby wise, everyone. I mean, like I watch Dustin, I watch Steve. Um, Comic wise, I like Swagglehouse. I watch him a lot. I watch Comic Tom. I watch Como. I watch Automatic Comics quite a bit. Rudy from Alpha Investments, obviously. Who else do I? It just kind of like random YouTube verse. I love camping with Steve, just a Canadian dude that like randomly camps in the side of the road and stuff. Posts a video like once a week. He's got 1 billion subscribers. I like watching reaction channels, like people that react to like TV shows. Like I watch Previewed quite a bit. Jay and Adam. Actually met them at New York Comic Con last year. Cool guys. They do, like the watch alongs where they're like, "Oh my God, so and so just got shot" or whatever while the show's on. What else do I watch a lot of? I don't know. I watch a ton of YouTube. Critical Role. I watch a ton of Critical Role stuff. Play a lot of tabletop games. I don't know about Nick Chubb. I absolutely love him. I'm super concerned coming off of the ACL tear. Soaking chrome cards again. I think PSA might be able to catch that one on the smell test. If I had to guess. I don't know for sure though. That's a hunch on my part that they might be able to catch that one on the old smelly smell test. That might be true, but I like his content. I have watched Rudy for years now. I watched Rudy way before I even started content. What tabletop games do I like? I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I have a bunch of. I played Star Wars Legion very competitively. I qualified for nationals, but then it got canceled because of COVID, so I couldn't end up going. BattleTech, played BattleTech quite a bit. Descent, Hero Quest, Zombicide. What else? Marvel Crisis Protocol. A lot of living card games. What else? What else? I'm blanking right now. Any of the Star Wars tabletop games, I've probably dabbled with in one shape or form. Back pre-pandemic, I used to do like a monthly game night with my friends that I used to work with at Best Buy. Everyone would come over and we would play like something different. You know, maybe we would play Rogue Squadron or something, or the Fantasy Flight X-wing game, or the DC Cryptozoic card game, or we did a Hero Quest campaign for a while. Basically, any of that sort of stuff. I had some of that stuff laying around. I never got big into that old school Star Wars CCG. I had like the starter decks at one point in time, but beyond that, that one never really spoke to me. I was a big Magic player back then. Yeah, that's the sad part is that like Skeens is awesome and I would love to go out and buy some of his stuff, but he's probably going to get hurt again. And he could have Tommy John and recover. I mean, Tommy John nowadays, you lose the year, but like a lot of guys bounce back from that. It's not like a death sentence like it used to be. I never played Hero Clicks, but I was always intrigued by it. I didn't know anyone that played it at the time, so I never got into it. I played Magic competitively quite a bit through college. Um, I never got like pro tour or anything crazy like that, but I played at like the state. Like I would travel and play at like the state championship tournaments with like, you know, 300 or 400 people, whatever would show up to those things. Um, I got into Magic the Gathering very competitively at a high end. I played a lot of Fantasy Flight, Star Wars Destiny competitively at the high end. Um, Played a lot of Star Wars Legion, which is a tabletop miniatures game at competitively at the high end. I really like that game. Part of the reason, funnily enough, I was playing a lot of that, and I was just starting to do dabble in content around that on Twitch. And then the pandemic happened, and that the nationals got canceled, and it kind of sucked the wind out of my sails for that game for a little bit. So I took a break, and then I fell into this and just didn't have time for it anymore because the game of Star Wars Legions takes a couple hours to play. I have a full. I haven't painted in forever. In my upstairs office, I have a whole desk set up for painting, like painting miniatures. I don't have any around me down here. They're all upstairs. Star Wars Legion, you had to paint your own miniatures. I never played Warhammer or anything crazy like that. It was always too expensive. I wouldn't be. I don't know if Dakota pops back up this year, but I will. I would bet money that Dakota appears in front of a microphone again sometime before the next couple of years. Anyway, I think it's both. Honestly, I mean, I'm no wizard, but Chris and Space talking about the same thing. Yeah, I think it's the spin rate and the velocity. Like Skeens is throwing like almost 102 miles an hour. Ouch. It's a scary play group. Pre or post COVID? I think I'd have more fun now, honestly, because I'm way more involved now. Like before, I would just buy like a random card every month or so. I'd be like, oh, cool, here's this cool Baker Mayfield thing. Let me go ahead and grab this or whatever. Like I was nowhere near to the level that I was now. I have way more enjoyment in it now. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that suck, but generally speaking, I still have a lot of fun. But I try not to get caught up in the I mean, I've done videos on this about the whole, I refuse to let some random ass company air quote ruin the hobby or some person ruin the hobby for me. There's too many different aspects of it to have one entity ruin it for you. People just want to complain about something. Yeah, I agree, Steve. All the Cleveland teams. Cavs, Indians, Browns. I watch a lot of Let's Talk. I watch some Let's Talk Wax. He's good. And then just people that I follow on Twitter and stuff. I play a lot of fantasy baseball too, so I pick up a lot of it from like fantasy baseball podcasts, or they'll do like podcasts about like you know the next 50 guys to keep an eye on or whatever. But I usually don't do a ton of baseball prospecting. I happen to fall into it recently with some Indians guys just because. Oh, for sure. I mean, I grew up in the era when Nolan Ryan and Clemens and stuff were throwing 125 pitches. One of my former coworkers used to play with you. Play what, Sam? What game? Um, over under 100,000 people. I'll say under, just because it's a smaller venue. I haven't followed the singles market at all. I know Chapter One boxes have. Um, oh, Brad Daniels. Talking about Brad Daniels from Cleveland. Yeah, played Destiny with Brad for a while. We got into Legion together for a hot minute. I used to play with him at Recess all the time. I haven't seen him in a while. Recess was a haul for me. It was about an hour drive. I used to go up there on Friday nights to play Destiny. We would get into some other nonsense. We played a lot of tabletop games together. Always like Brad. I'm still in a Facebook group chat with him, but I don't poke my nose in that often anymore. That's a small world. That's some small world shit right there. Sorry, back to Lorcana. Yeah, I don't follow the singles super close. I know Chapter One booster boxes have gone up in price as supply has kind of dwindled on them, and I know people really like the Elsa Enchanted. The new set just came out this week, I think. That guy is absolutely ridiculous. If they reprint Chapter One, I think it'll really hurt it. They'd be smart not to at this point. I never watched 30 Rock, I believe. Jack Moore's 10 inning game. Yeah, that's the stuff we blew up on. Best Cleveland Indians player ever. Um, I'll say Manny Ramirez. It could have been Albert Bell if he stayed healthy. Kenny Laughlin's up there, but I'll give it to Manny. Um, Bell could have had it if he wouldn't have had the hip degeneration. He was an absolute monster, but you look at some of those Manny Ramirez seasons in the late 90s and early 2000s when he first went to Boston, the numbers that he were putting up were absolutely insane. Bell was probably the scariest hitter that I've ever seen in person ever, or on TV. Like in my entire era of watching baseball, like Albert Bell would scare me more than anybody else to like have to pitch against. But Manny Ramirez is one of the best pure hitters I've ever seen outside of like Griffey. Lofton's really good. Don't get me wrong, but that's funny, Sam. He's big into biking now. I'm friends with him on Facebook. He's always posting stuff about riding his bike. No, I mean I've played a ton of Madden. I played a ton of NBA 2K and a little bit of MLB The Show, but I never got into the whole pack buying thing. I would just do solo dynasties, sim and repeat. I just like to play GM. I never got into the whole pack nonsense. There was nothing like watching Manny Ramirez hit. Lofton was fun to watch play center field. I mean, one of the best moments in Indians history is Lofton going first to third in Kingdom in the ALDS in was that 95 when he just like Randy Johnson had no idea he was coming home to score. On like I think it was like a double down the line. Like Lofton went first to home. I mean, most of the guys in the '90s were implicated in a steroid, so I'm not like I'm not holding anyone against anyone from that era. I'm not holding steroids against them personally. Yeah, I can remember it was the ALC. Oh yeah, it was a wild pitch. That's right. It was a wild pitch. Imagine that you're on first base and you score home on a wild pitch. Oh boy, I'd say Ant Man, but that could make me look real bad in about 24 hours from now. Um, Probably Ant or Wemby of the young guys. If you're talking ultra young, I'm actually kind of out on Tatum. Maybe he'll make me eat those words. I don't know that Tatum's an alpha. I remember being a 14-year-old kid and losing my mind in that ALCS. That was a really good Mariners team. That Mariners team was loaded. They had Griffey, Edgar Martinez, and Jay Buhner in the middle of their order. And I think 95, did they still have Tino Martinez too? I don't remember who else was in that. I mean, I hated Jay Buhner. Oh my god. I mean, he was really good, but like I just hated. He scared the hell out of me. Curious now. Oh, Norm Charlton was their closer. That's right. I forgot about that. Where's their roster? I just want their roster. Jay Buhner, Norm Charlton. Oh, Vince Coleman was on that roster. Joey Cora. I remember being really annoyed at him all the time. Felix Fermin. Man, this is a blast from the past. Yeah, Tino Martinez was on that team. I thought so. Alex Rodriguez. That was a really good team. Someone in chat, I forget who it was complaining about like running into the 95 Indians as being Mariners fans. Yeah, you forget about A-Rod. Edgar Martinez was a monster. I think Lofton will probably end up in at some point in time. I think Vizquel would have ended up in, but he got in a little bit of hot water after he retired. No, Tommy is in. I'm pretty sure Tommy's in. I'm almost positive Tommy's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, 2018. Yeah, Eddie Murphy was on the Indians. Yep. Oral Hershiser too. I loved Oral Hershiser on the Indians. He was like the savvy vet. Him and Dennis Martinez. Kenny Lofton was really good defensively. Yeah, that's what I thought as he threw me when he was like, "Is he not in?" Yeah, I missed that. I was recording when they were uh playing. I saw it on Twitter or the X machine, if you will. That that mid '90s baseball right after the strike. I don't know. I think I was just the right age for it. I was like 13, 14, 15 years old. It's like the perfect age. We were going to the person that actually introduced me to baseball cards, my dad's best friend when I was a kid, like in the '80s, introduced me to baseball cards. That's how I got into it. He had Indian season tickets, and my dad would, we would go and we would go to his house and pick him up. And he had a room of cards in his house. He bought like a bunch of like '80s junk wax stuff back in the first boom. And he would always give me packs to open whenever we would go over there. And that's kind of like what got me hooked. Then I started buying like the Indians team sets and stuff, when you would go to the stadium. But he was a huge Cleveland sports fan. And he would go to Indian spring training every year. So in the '90s, when the Indians were super good, you couldn't get tickets. We would go to Indian spring training for a week every year in March. From '95 up through probably 2001. I think I went like 5 or 6 years in a row to Winter Haven for a week in March, and it was so much fun as a kid. You get so many autographs and so much player access and foul balls and batting practice, and it was just perfection. And then I remember we would go in the evenings. There was the ESPN club on the Disney boardwalk, and they would film Baseball Tonight there in the spring. So we would go to the baseball games all day, and then we would go to the ESPN zone on the boardwalk in Disney, in not Disney Springs. I forget what they called it. I think it was just the Disney boardwalk, and watch live filmings of Baseball Tonight. And that was back when Peter Gammons was like a god. If you grew up in the '90s, Peter Gammons was like literally like, you like baseball, seeing Peter Gammons and meeting him in person. I actually have his autograph. I met him in person at the ESPN zone in Florida during that. Um, it'd be like meeting Schefter now. It's a hell of a top five of an order. I still think Griffey has the purest swing, but Manny is right there. Yeah, Mesa was ridiculous out of the pen for that couple of years. Yep, 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 yep. Cleveland got him from the Astros. He was a good basketball player too. Yeah, the late '90s Indians were so good, and they went through a lot of different iterations. Like even after Albert Bell left, they were super loaded. Like I forgot that one year. I think it was '99 when they scored a bajillion runs, and like they had Manny Ramirez and they had Richie Sexton who hit like 40 home runs, and David Justice had like a huge year. I mean, they had that whole '90s from '94 through the early 2000s. I mean, I was so blessed watching those guys play baseball on a daily basis. He was really good on the Indians for a couple years. Yeah, it was fantastic, Sam. We had so much fun. I have so many memories from those spring training trips. Peter Gammons was like Yoda of baseball. I would agree. I remember when A Rod got that contract, everyone lost their minds. Yes, I believe so, Sam. Hey man, when you're a good athlete, you're a good athlete. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, 90s baseball, everyone thinks their era growing up is the best. So I'm sure I'm seeing it with rose colored glasses, but I don't know. I got to see an awful lot of good baseball players in the 90s, man. And I was, back then that was before interleague play, but I was lucky enough, I grew up in the Youngstown area. So it was an hour drive for me to get to Cleveland, and it was an hour drive for me to get to Pittsburgh. And in the 90s, you couldn't get into Indians games. You couldn't get tickets. It was impossible. As a high school kid, we didn't have that kind of money. So, you get lucky and go to a couple games a year, but you could go to Pirates games dirt cheap. So we used to go to Pittsburgh all the time. You could get in the Three River Stadium for like they would almost pay you to come in. Like you could buy a ticket for $1 and pretty much sit wherever you want. But that gave us the option. I got to see a lot of NL players that way. Normally you wouldn't get to see like Tony Gwynn and those guys roll through and Bonds and McGuire and Sosa and all those guys. But because that was pre-interleague play, we could go down there and watch those guys play in Pittsburgh. Anytime someone major would come through, we would, my buddy and I would always drive down there. I went to more Pirates games in a year than Indians games because tickets just weren't available for the Indians. So we would go to Pirates games dirt cheap. Same with the Cavs. The Cavs in the late 90s, like, I'm not talking about like Fratello playoff years. I'm talking about like the dark years, like post the Sean Kemp contract when like Danny Ferry was their star player with like Ricky Davis and Bob Sura and those guys. You could get Cavs tickets for about $5. So on a Friday and Saturday night, it was cheaper in high school to go to a Cavs game than it was to go to the movies. So same thing. We would load up, my buddies and I, if any girls wanted to go or whatever, and we would go to Cavs games all the time. There was one season of the late 90s Cavs. I think it was, I don't remember if it probably would have been the 99 season, the first strike season. I went to probably like 15 or 20 home games that year. I saw a lot of bad basketball from the late 90s Cavs with Vitaly Potapinko when they first drafted Zydrunas Ilgauskas. Sheffield had a cool swing. Yeah, it's 452, I think, sellout streak. They retired that number. Yeah, Robbie Alomar was really good for them for a hot minute. Joe Mauer, meh. Oh, Paul Ossenmacher. The crafty lefty out of the pen. I mean, it just depends on what we had to give up. I'd be fine if LeBron came back. I have no issues with that. Yeah, good old Bob Sir. Yeah, I thought about going back and like looking for players from '90s basketball, but that's a weird era for basketball cards. Um, outside of like Jordan stuff, it's kind of a forgotten era. There's a lot of cool '90s baseball cards from back then. I have a lot of cool Manny Ramirez refractors from the '90s. 455, I was close. Yep, yep. Good old Ricky Davis. Who else was on that team? Cedric Henderson was on that team. I remember when they had Bobby Phills and they traded him, and then he died in the car accident. Terrell Brandon. Eric Gagne. That's a good one. LeBron going to the Bulls. Oh, you're a Red Sox fan, Perk? Meh. Yeah, that was in the '80s. I only saw. I watched them, but I was a kid. I was like 10 years old during the Price Doherty years. I only went to one game at Richfield Coliseum before it got tore down and saw Price Doherty. That Cavs, the Jordan shot year, like don't get me wrong, I was like 10 or 12. Wasn't like I was some big NBA guru back then or whatever. But I've always heard that early '90s Cavs team, like if it wasn't, it was kind of like how if you're like a Raptors fan and you're like, oh my god, we had so many good teams and we could just never beat LeBron, or like the Hawks, like the Al Horford, Joe Johnson Hawks. Like those teams were really good, but they just ran into LeBron every single year, like the Pacers for all those years. That's how I felt as you look back at the early '90s Cavs with Price Doherty and Elo and Ron Harper when he was on the squad for a hot minute. Like those guys just ran into Jordan every year, and there was just nothing you could do. It didn't matter how good you were; it just did not matter. I remember when they traded Brian Giles. Dwan Wagner and his didn't he have like an intestinal issue or something? I remember. I was so hyped on Dwan Wagner. He's still in the league, not as a player, obviously, but I think he's in like player development somewhere for somebody. Scotty Scheffler. I saw all that nonsense come out the other day. Good old Bobby Sarah. I was a big Danny Ferry fan back in the day. I love Danny Ferry. Then he ended up becoming the GM. Boozer. Don't get me. I was so pissed when Boozer left. Tyron Hill was solid back in the day. Junkyard dog. I saw that. I don't follow a lot of golf. I am not buying the dip on Harrison Busker. Bucker. Travis Hafner was really good. He was probably my favorite player from that era, from that early 2000s era. I actually just watched a really good YouTube video about Travis Hafner the other day. There's that. I forget the name of the channel. Um, they do baseball videos like a couple times a month. They did one on Travis Hafner that was really good. I forgot how good he was. I'll have to check that out, Dave. Dustin needs to take notes from you about keeping up with chat. To be fair, all right, I'll be a little fair to Dustin. It's easier to do it when you're by yourself. When you're in a three man, it's different because you don't control the pace. if Dustin's pulling a question and then me and Steve talk about it for 10 minutes, he kind of loses control of he doesn't have full control of the situation. Here I have full control. I'm not reliant on waiting for someone else to stop talking. Delonte West. Carlos Baerga was really good. Baerga had I don't know if he's still the only ever player to do it. 2 home runs in the same inning from opposite sides of the plate. I know he did that at one point in time because he was a switch hitter. He hit a home run left-handed. They batted around, and then he hit one right-handed in the same inning. If Dustin ever caught up on chat for off-centered, I'd boycott. That's our shtick, man. Dallas hanging around in this game. Yeah, I don't know that anyone's repeated that task. Did someone do it? All right, someone Google it. I need to know who. Regardless, there's not a lot of people that have done that. I can't imagine the list of people to hit 2 home runs in the same inning is very long to begin with, let alone to hit it from opposite sides of the plate. Adam Dunn was fun. He was still bouncing around like a year or two ago, wasn't he? Was he on the Marlins for a hot minute? I always think of him as a Red, obviously. Tatis Sr. did hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning, which is also absolutely crazy. Yeah, I like Hafner quite a bit. I should work as an interrogator for the CIA. Why? Why should I be an interrogator for the CIA? Uh-oh. Dallas only down 4. Could you imagine if the Western Conference Finals is Luka versus Ant? I've seen Griffey play a bunch of times. I saw Griffey play in Seattle. We went to the Kingdom back in the day. I forget what year it was exactly, but it was when A-Rod and Johnson and all those guys were still on the team. I saw Ripken play. That game's tomorrow, Bush Leagues. Game 7's tomorrow. 2 game 7s tomorrow. Knicks Pacers in the afternoon, and then Wolves Nuggets at night. I ate 2 Denny's grand slams in 1 inning once. That's pretty good space. True story. I've never had a Denny's grand slam in my life. Ooh, Kyrie missing shots. Kendrick Morales. Kendrick Morales, didn't he break his ankle celebrating a home run? He was like a monster, and then like the first game of the season, he hit like a walk-off or something and shattered his ankle and was never the same. I feel like I drafted him in fantasy that year. Yeah, that's why Steph was born in Akron. Ooh. Sorry, I got the Mavs. The Mavs OKC game is very close. Skeen's price has definitely jumped yesterday for sure. I'd love to jump on board, but he's a pitcher. I should try to get down there. It's 2 hours for me to get to Pittsburgh. I should try to sneak down there to see him pitch. Thanks, Arcia. If they win, you're probably going to get those 4 points. Yeah, I thought so, Philly Joe. It was at a home plate celebration, right? They were all jumping up and down at home plate, and he shattered his ankle. You watched him or his girlfriend, Ryan? You could strike out at an unbelievable rate when you're hitting 50 bombs a year. Now the truth comes out. How many Libby Dune cards do you own, Ryan? Do you have the lipstick autograph PSA 10? Don't lie. Throws high 90s with both arms. The hell? Yeah. I didn't care back then. I was a 14, 15-year-old kid. Do whatever it takes to hit the long ball. I I just believe that like 95% of the players in the 90s were on something. Either they were either juicing their arms or juicing their bat. Flipping Steve can't touch it. Tell him on the next off center. For sure. That's why they let it all go. All right, ladies and gents, I think we're going to wind down here. So I could go catch the end of this Mavs OKC game. For sure. Stump the Steve. You're welcome, Sam. Yeah, I have access to a ton of shows all within driving distance. I mean, I could be in New York in 6 hours, which isn't that bad. Philly's like 6 or 7 hours for me. Chicago's 6 hours for me. Chantilly's 6 hours for me. And then I got stuff obviously way closer. Oh, who's on? Maybe I'll check it out after. I always forget about that show. Who's his guests? Kyrie Irving has been on a tear in the second half. All right, folks, there's 6 minutes left in this basketball game. I am going to go settle in and watch this close out. Thanks all for coming along for the ride. Good little hanging out tonight. Tomorrow, weekly sports card market update, and then I have no idea what I got planned for the rest of the week. You boys and girls have fun. Go watch. Oh, we're tied now. Dallas OKC tied. Oh, the stolen cards thing. I heard about that. All right, I'm going to go watch Luca battle it out. And then tomorrow, 2 game 7s tomorrow. Talk about blessed. Hopefully they're good ones. Have another wine. I still got to finish this one off. This was like 3 glasses of wine in 1 cup. Thank you, Space Yak. Thank you very much. All right, boys and girls, we will catch you on the next one. Peace.